Today we have Brother Sofield coming back to us. He was with us, some of you will remember, 2 years ago. And today he will address to you the challenges that face you as lay people out of an awareness of your own baptism as baptized children of Jesus Christ. And the challenge that that presents to each one of us to go out and spread that good news of God's love for each one.
I'd like to start with a story. I was working with a group of sisters recently, and they told me that one of the sisters had brought all the children to church for a children's mass. And the mass went on a little bit too long, and the homily seemed a little too long for the young children. And so the sister sitting in the back was watching up front. A little boy in the first row stood up on the pew, turned around, and began talking to everyone in the pew behind him. And the sister sitting in the back looked at him and she went like this. And he looked back at her and he went. And she looked at him and she went. And he looked at her and he went. And she said to the little girl sitting next to her, she said, "You go tell him to sit down and stop talking." So the little girl walked out the side, walked up the side aisle, past the front pew, walked into the sanctuary, and whispered into the ear of the priest. Sister said, "Sit down and stop talking." And because he had gone to a Catholic school, of course, he said, "Yes, sister," and sat down immediately. So if I start talking too long, just go like this to me. We haven't finished our prayer yet. We started our prayer. This is going to summarize what I believe pastoral councils are all about. And so as we say this prayer together, could I ask you to think, what does it say to you personally? And what does it say to you as a pastoral council? So just look at that prayer for a moment. And together can we say it? Christ, no body but yours, no hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes through which you look, the passion of the world. Yours are the feet with which he walks to do good. Yours are the hands with which he blesses all the world. You are his hands, you are his feet, you are his eyes, you are his body. Amen. Just take a moment and reflect. What does that prayer say to you personally? And what does that say to you as a pastoral council? You just shared somebody who reflects Jesus to you. What you are trying to do as a pastoral council is to get everybody in the parish to reflect Jesus. Begin to think about that person. And begin to think, what do we have to do as a pastoral council so that everybody is behaving and thinking and acting in the way of the person that I just talked about. I looked it up after you said that compassion before. And that little pamphlet you all have, I knew I had seen it there. And I don't know the page numbers on this. But in that, there's at the top of one of the pages that says, why are we taking these steps at this time? This is the Cardinal speaking to you. Why are we taking these steps we're taking of the clustering of parishes and moving in the direction we're moving? And this is what he says, prompted by the Holy Spirit. It was fascinating this morning listening to your Cardinal, how he talked about the working of the Spirit at that synod he was at, and how that was the very first thing that the Pope said to them. Prompted by the Holy Spirit. This isn't something you're doing because it's a nice idea or it's good organization. But he's saying, prompted by the Holy Spirit, the Church in every age has adapted in order to meet the pastoral needs and changing circumstances. And then why do we do this? And this is what the Cardinal says. It does this so that in every generation it can effectively continue Christ's mission. And what is Christ's mission? Revealing God's compassionate love for all. This is what your cardinal believes so strongly. This is what it's all about. We have to now begin to move to a church which isn't just priest and religious. But the Pope said to the bishops of New Jersey and Pennsylvania, you must find a way to involve the laity at every level. You must recapture the vision of the Second Vatican Council. You must become more collaborative. And you must change your structures and your governance. Now isn't that what your planning is all about? We have to change our structures because they have to meet the needs of today. You're not doing this simply because there's a reduction in the number of priests and religious. No. You're doing this because this is where the Holy Spirit is calling you. When Pope John Paul II met one time with a group of people, he said, in order to meet the contemporary demands of evangelization, that's what we're about as a church. To be an evangelizing church, to bring Christ into every segment of society. He said, in order to meet the contemporary demands of evangelization, the collaboration with the laity is becoming more and more indispensable. I love that term. He wasn't saying it might be a good idea to do this. He said this is indispensable. And then the Pope, just like your cardinal, says we're not doing this because there are fewer priests and religious. We're doing this because this is a new, unprecedented opportunity that God is offering us. This is what you're doing as pastoral councils. Your job is to try to say, how do we make everyone begin to realize that they can become the compassionate eyes and feet and hands of Christ in the world. As because of your baptism, every single member of your parish is called to ministry. Ministry is not a choice for the Christian. Ministry is the obligation, the privilege, and the responsibility of every baptized person. And if you can begin as pastoral councils to get everybody to understand that and to live it, you will see a transformation of your parishes. I remember saying this last time, I'm going to say it again. In my family, there were 3 children, all boys. My oldest brother was a brother. He died 7 years ago, Malachi. I'm a brother. And my mother used to say to people, I have 3 sons and 2 of them are brothers. Nobody quite figured out about that. But my brother Malachi had bypass surgery twice. The first time he had it, the doctor said to my mother, now you know why this man's always tired? 2 of his arteries are 100% blocked and 1 of them is 90% blocked. This is a man who's working on about 10% of his total capacity. That's why he's tired. That's why he's anemic. You know why we have a tired, anemic church? Because we're not even using 10% of the gifts that God has placed there. The role of the pastoral council is to identify needs, identify gifts, and bring them together in ministry. I want to show you how you call it.